1 minute until showtime.
Corner. Be loud and proud. Wow, that's pretty good for a small crowd. I think we're going to go with that. What the heck? It must be the people here. He's an old fireman. He knows how to make a fuss. So that's part of that. David and Mary Ann? Mary what? Beth. Mary Beth. Mary Ann's your sister. All right. We're going to have a good show. We'll get started
Your
here in
show
just
will
a
go
moment.
live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, from the world's most famous beach, from where beach racing began, it's the Legends of Racing radio show. Live from racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill in Ponce Inlet, Florida. The Legends of Racing radio show. And your host, Roland Villa, and co-host, Rich Combs.
The time is 12 noon. Do you know where your racing show is? But it's a lot more than a racing show. This is Legends of Racing radio show. Got a very special guest today with me, Rich Combs. Rich, you're going to like this one.
Oh, you better believe it. I've just looked the book over, and I'm thinking, wow.
Here you go. We're going to do a book interview today, and you're going to really, really enjoy it. Racing in Daytona Beach. But he informs me, he writes this book that's so informative, and then he writes to me, he says, I'm not really a racing historian. I'm more of a location historian, and we're going to explain a little bit about that. I am Roland Villa, and this is the normal seat of Buzz McKim. We want to say get well again to Buzz McKim. Please, please get well. We have a couple people here. We have Jim and Joanne, and they're from up in Michigan, right? But they have a timeshare down here, and they were here a couple of years ago, and they come in here and they go, wait a minute, there's a big change. Joanne is Shane, about 100 pounds lighter and female. Not really. Danny Joe's our new board op, and I'm, of course, subbing for Buzz McKim. We have something going on for Buzz that is starting to work out a little bit. We have a GoFundMe page. I don't know if you folks know about that, especially the older folks, but what that is a page where you can go see the story of Buzz McKim. He's been laid up now for, this is the 11th week, and there's a place there for you to help him out by donating to his GoFundMe campaign, so check it out. It'll work out real good for you. You'll feel better. Okay. We live in an area that's full of history of racing, but it's full of history all around. I mean, this is really a unique place. And if you're an author and you do your homework, and you will you will find out there's a lot to know about here. Now, do you go to grocery stores, to Publix and Winn-Dixie and places like that, or do you go to Walgreens, CVS, places like that? Well, they normally have these areas in the store that are end caps, and usually they have the most popular books that are on there. Well, there is an end cap that I found at Walgreens, which had these books on there. Have you seen the ones? It's what's the Daytona Beach title? Not this one. Give me a title of one of your books.
Another one, Hidden History of Civil War Florida.
Yes.
Historic Sites and Landmarks of New Smyrna Beach.
Right. And they have Daytona Beach. Anyway, you see those all over the place. Well, this one was sitting on the end cap, and it fascinated me. I looked at it and said, what, another racing book? It's similar to another one that we had with a lot of history to it. This one's a Sunshine, Sand, and Speed. I think that describes out there, right, David? I mean, it really hits home out there. So I want to tell you about the author a little bit, though, because this guy, he's something else. It is a coup getting him here. He's a very busy guy, very sought after, and he doesn't really do interviews. I got one, Buzz. Robert Redd, R-E-D-D, is a native Floridian with a longtime interest in history. He's a graduate of Stetson University with a degree in American Studies. He's currently pursuing his master's degree in public history. You doing okay with that?
I have completed that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
He'll be a doctor before long. Who knows? He is a member of the Florida Historical Society, the San Augustine Historical Society, the Civil War Trust, and several other historical organizations. He was previously the executive director for the New Smyrna Museum of History, and he currently works in the cultural arts field. This is Robert's fourth book with Arcadia Publishing. He lives south of the world's most famous beach in Daytona International Speedway. And thank you to your wife, Christina, for letting you come out and play.
She's at work.
All right. Anyway, and say hello to who's Finley and Ruby?
Our dogs.
Your dog. See, children.
Yep.
Okay. And a cat, Ignatius. Ooh, outnumbered cat, but
Yeah.
nonetheless. So I picked up the book and I thought, is it just another book? No, because he wraps around the history into the cultural affairs of what made our town really what it is. And then we're talking about from Ormond Beach to New Smyrna Beach and the beaches there. And we're going to ask you about certain parts. But when I first opened it up, you started back where it started, back in 1903. You went to the birthplace of Speed Park, and you saw what went on there, and you documented that. And that's what I belong to, the Motor Racing Heritage Association, of which David is. Are you on the board? Are you on the board, David says? Okay. All right. So he's a part of that. And you got it right. You got it accurate. I said, okay.
Good.
Yeah, I'll go for this. So let's talk about this book primarily. And, folks, I got something good for you. I don't know exactly how we're going to do it, but we have two books which he will autograph, and they will be given away during this show. Is that okay?
All right, that's a good
All right.
deal.
We'll do it. I don't know how I meant to bring some tickets or something, so we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll ask a trivia question. I've got the perfect one that has to do with the recent race at Daytona International Speedway. What used to be called the Firecracker.
Yes.
Now it's the No Cracker, Coke Zero Sugar. Zero sugar, okay.
Zero sugar.
That's the way it goes, and I have a story about that. Okay, we have a book here. Why did this book come about? You actually were challenged to do this. Someone that you know.
My acquisitions editor, who I've worked with for multiple books on this, I turn in a manuscript, and then it's, okay, what do you have next? What are you working on? And I didn't have anything. And, we went back and forth on a couple of things. There's one that I have hit him up for about 3 times, and he declines it every time. I'm going to wear him down, just like you wore me down. So we knocked a few ideas back and forth, and this kind of came up. He asked me, well, what's available on racing?
Yeah.
The Daytona 500, the biggest event every year in NASCAR.
Right.
And so I did a little work on that. I'm like, well, there's some things out there, but there's not a tremendous amount. And he ran with that immediately, and there was no turning back from it. As I'm trying to explain, I don't have a background in this. I don't, it's not my area.
So you were cold turkey. So as you found different subjects,
Yes.
If it interested you, you wrote about it because it's very interesting in the read.
Yeah, we during the query process on this, even though he loved it, it still had to go to a larger committee for approval. I wasn't concerned.
had to
about
run
it.
the gauntlet with
Oh
it.
yeah, I wasn't real concerned about it, but so we started kind of talking about potential topics, what could be included, and so that's how some of these came about. And what's amazing is you go to Daytona or even here in Ponce Inlet, and you find these locations, and you like, well, gosh, what's that name? And then you find out it's associated with racing,
Right.
and then it leads down a hole of, well, who was that? What did they do? And so that's how some of that came about. One of the topics, on women racing, I thought that was appropriate.
Absolutely.
The dangers, especially of the beach racing, I thought was really appropriate. I thought it was interesting too.
Yeah.
So that's how some of those came about.
As I noticed in part of the writing here, different things on there, your influences and where it came from, you have no idea about this because I didn't tell you. But I have a bunch of websites
Okay.
that are racing oriented, like MarshallTeague.com. You happen to like that particular one because Marshall Teague was one of our town pioneers that helped bring racing to the area. And there were several other things on there, including the motor racing heritage part of it and the living legends of auto racing. And do we have any members of Living Legends here, of the major club? Anyway, we have a lot of information here. Talks about on the hard-packed sands, it's not just a man's world. You can't escape danger. And you were right to the point talking about wrecks, and you actually documented people that have lost their life at Daytona International Speedway. Talked about the Daytona 500 winners, Firecracker and the Coke Zero. So you got very complete in here, and it's a great, if you want to find out more about Daytona International Speedway, there is a lot of information in here that will help you with that. So let's go ahead.
One thing I would note on that, and as you read it, especially when you know a lot and you go, well, gosh, he didn't get into this or that. Arcadia runs on a pretty solid word count. They have a template that they use really in their publications, and you get assigned a word count, and they're very leery to go over that word count. It helps them for several reasons. One, it keeps it in their template. It also helps them with price control too. That's another issue because, as you mentioned, a lot of these are placed in impulse buy type of areas. So, you don't want to get too high on pricing.
Right next
on
to the
that.
cash register.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's so much more that could have been covered, and
Yeah, I understand.
But that's where like your websites and things like that become so valuable because you have literally just almost unlimited space and
Right.
ability to explore.
We got about 5 more minutes here before our first break. I want to talk about you,
Sure,
Robert
yes.
Red,
Yeah.
because you got this book and you started on it. We talked in your office, which is the Office of Cultural Affairs.
I work for Volusia County Parks, Recreation, and Culture, and I joke that I am the culture because I'm the only person in that three-part Parks, Recreation, and Culture.
And you're not that part of the culture that goes under a microscope or anything.
No.
You're not that.
No.
What do you do with
Yeah.
And by the way, I mean this fits right into culture.
Yeah. So the culture portion handles several things. There's a grant program that we work on that provides operating funds to not-for-profit organizations that meet certain criteria. One of the things I'm working on right now is the county art in public places program, and that is for new county construction or significant renovations. 0.5% to 1% of the construction budget has to be allocated for art.
Oh, okay.
And so, those of you who know, the airport received a massive renovation several years ago, and we went through, and we had spent most of the money, but there was still some money left, and so we're finally getting around to finishing that project up. That I've actually got a meeting scheduled next week where we're going to review submissions on that, so that'll be wrapping up. Next year, there's a couple of other Art in Public Places programs for some renovation work that's being done on Marine Science Center here in Ponce Inlet. You know, they're going to have a whole new building out there, so there'll be some artwork that's included in that. One of the other things is working with the state of the arts license plate program.
Okay.
And you know, there's so many of the custom license plates that are out there. There's one that's state of the arts, and it's various pastel colors and little wave type formats. Well, for every one of those that gets purchased in Volusia County, $20 comes back to the county that is allocated to cultural programs for nonprofits. And so, you know, if anybody has interest in learning about that program, I'd be glad to, you know, just contact me at the county. You can find me online easy with that.
And we got some cards of his business if you want to talk to him a little bit more on that question. How long has that department or your what you do, how long has that been around in the county, and how supportive is our county council? Because we get an election coming up.
Oh, yeah, we do. We do. You know, county council has to look at every tax dollar that's spent. So, you know, they just do their due diligence on these things. And, you know, they look at everything. So, you know, it's imperative that organizations prove to those with the authority that the money is being spent wisely, that there's a return on this investment. You know, it's not something that I advocate for. I take my marching orders, so to speak. Right. But, you know, so it's up to them to, you know, be good stewards if they receive funding, that they make the best use of it. And they do. There's usually about 30 to 32 organizations. And
very good. And the one thing that I know, I was a former elected official. I was the mayor of the city of Holly Hill, and my son now is the mayor. And you're responsible for those funds. But if you forget things like the arts and music and culture, your city kind of slips a cog, that's for sure. We're going to take a short pause right now. This is the way that we pay the bills around here. It's going to be brought to you by Beach Boys Embroidery, and also locally by the Legends of Racing Radio Facebook page. Remember that, because we're right there. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing Radio Show. At Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees, it's all about making you happy. Beach Boys Embroidery can customize your athletic golf apparel, caps, hats, badges, buttons, magnets, backpacks, bags, totes, clocks, watches, oh, and of course, T-shirts. Sure, they're at 2033 South Ridgewood Avenue in South Daytona, and they're waiting for you to call now. 386-255-5880. Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees. Let Aloha Marine get you on the water with huge discounts on great brands like Bayliner, Carolina Skiff, Hurricane, Key West, and Regal. Pay as little as $169 a month with 10% down and approved credit. Don't wait. Get to Aloha Marine, 1700 North Nova Road, Holly Hill, Monday through Saturday. 47 years and always better than boat show prices. We're back from where it all began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Roland Villa, and co-host, Rich Combs.
Rich Combs. Yeah. Rich, you're awfully quiet down there.
Hey, it's a good program. I'm learning stuff that I know nothing about. He's an expert. Hey, I'm having fun.
No, see, he'll deny he's an expert, but when you read the book, it's just not the. He's an expert in many ways.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Much appreciated.
What about the racing, early in the racing, the beach racing, what fascinated you the most? Was it the speeds? Because like the Stanley Steamer there in 1906, doing 127 miles an hour in what looked like a canoe?
Yeah. I think there's several things with that, really. One, just how different that is than what we're so used to today. You know, in some ways that almost is like an equivalent of drag racing in some ways. You know, you head south and then you head back north and.
Daredevils.
Oh, absolutely.
Their life was in their hands.
Absolutely. But to imagine that they were accomplishing some of those speeds that you talked about and how the technology was advancing so quickly. You know, we are really kind of used to that today. You see it in racing, but how it was advancing so quickly at the turn of from the early 1900s, and what they were able to accomplish. It would. I was thinking about it as I drove a little bit south, kind of tracing that route in a way before I came and parked, and I'm thinking, boy, that would be so cool if we could do something like that today. And there's just absolutely no way you'd be able to.
No way, but we do that parade.
Yes.
That's kind of a faux way of looking at the cars and and the history of it. And they're not all 100-year-old cars.
Right.
But we sort of enjoy that.
Yeah, I've got to get out here for that next year.
Here you go.
So.
Well, you should. You're a part of it.
Yeah.
Well, let me say, if you haven't seen that, if you haven't been here, you can write a book on the parade.
Okay.
Yeah.
The characters that are here, the cars that are here, there are 50-year-old cars here that are there. Some of the drivers, and I happened to be 2 years ago. Everybody knows Dale Earnhardt, and everybody knows Chocolate Myers is his gas man. I happen to know Chocolate. I'm out in the parking lot there, and there's this 36 Ford, I think it was, 36 Chevy, I think he was running. That was his dad's car. He's in it. It's an original car. I see him. And as he's pulling off, I'm saying, hello, hi. He didn't see me. As they come back around, I'm down on the beach. And he looks over and says, hey, bud. That lifted my whole life right there for that to happen.
Oh, he's so easy.
Yeah. So it's that type of person that's here.
Yeah.
I always go down right behind the north turn here.
Yeah.
And there's guys that are there that were here at the first races, they were at the second race or whatever, and they're telling their stories.
Yeah.
And that's the day for me, to get those stories out. So you got to come.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioning that, like, figuring out how to record that for oral history projects and things like that are just, those. We all meet our reward at some point, unfortunately.
That's it. Well, that's like Lee. I just happened to turn to that page. Lee Bible. Yeah, he met his time.
Yeah.
He was killed in a accident and took out a photographer at the same time.
Yeah.
It was the white triplex. Triplex. Oh well. Anyway, that was something else. The Daytona Beach Mile. There's a lot of that in here. But then you get into talking about Bill France and the family and how we went from this track to the big track and then some of the things going on as far as records and things like that. This book is published in 2021. And how long did it take to write?
Probably about a year to a year and a half.
Wow.
You know, just because I have a full-time job all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
In here, there is a chapter, chapter 5, which discusses the Volusia County racing history, where you tell people where to go and what to look for in this, and I find that interesting. David, with the Motor Racing Heritage, we kind of do the same thing, telling people where it's at. We built this garage.
yeah, you have a
Brought forth the park.
wonderful guide on that. Suzanne Hetty
Oh, yes.
was able to get me a copy, unfortunately, after this. And there's just so many sites you can see. So that map, if you don't have it, you need to. Is it available online? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really a great resource.
Now, there's one in here. Quote, in addition to providing good meals, drinks, and relaxing environment with a beach view, Racing's North Turn sits at a historical location. It was here that race fans in the 1930s through the late 1950s could race or could see the cars that have sands on the beach. I misread that. Only to speed down the pavement of Atlantic Avenue. There's still a section of the racetrack paved right down the road from here. And it talks about Rhonda and Walter Glasnick, but we also want to say thanks to the new owners that still host the show here. I want you to put your hands together for them, because if it wasn't for them, we couldn't have the show here.
Yes.
We're going to take a break in a minute, about 5 minutes, and when we get back, we're going to give away one of the autographed books. Okay, we're going to
That
come up
sounds
with a
great.
trivia question, so be thinking about that.
Okay.
Maybe something even from the book. I got one that's not in the book. That'll be a fun one. And absolute true story, and that's a trivia contest question that I won once upon a time on a major national show. I'll tell you more about that. Look at that, Racing's North Turn Restaurant.
Yep.
We got the picture up here. There's a car that's right over there in the museum part.
Yeah, it used to be outside.
It used to be, but as all things go outside, you want to get it inside as soon as possible. Matter of fact, at that little Ormond facsimile of the garage, we have two cars on the inside there, the Winton and the Olds that first raced on the beach in 1903. And they used to be out in the open, and that didn't work out very well. It only took like 3 years, and they were disintegrating. And then we built the little building there and put them on the inside, and they lasted really, really well.
Yeah, that salt water and salt air will.
It'll
tear
get to it
up,
right
yeah.
away. We are we, let's see, we're going to be taking a break here in just a second. We have the sponsor we're going to talk about, brought to you by Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, voted one of the top 5 markets in the country by USA Weekend. Visit the Shop Now Network and our Shop Now at the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market Facebook page for the latest vendor tours. There's a lot of air-conditioned areas out there. And real quick hint, because it's been warmer than usual, the vendors out there, they've got some special sales going on to get you to come out there and do it. Is he going to be doing a question? Okay. All right. We've got that break coming up. I want to go back again. I can't get rid of the book idea here. Inside the book, you have a special section. Rich, are you married?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is your
My
wife
wife's
here?
in the audience, yeah.
I knew that, but I just wanted to have him say that.
She's here every week. She's a racing fan.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm married to him, but my wife is up in Michigan. All right. So that's the reason why I asked you to ask the next question.
Okay. Well, I've got a little
Do you remember-
commentary here.
Do you remember?
Sure. About
do you remember?
being-
Do you remember the question?
No, I don't remember the question.
Mrs. Combs, what the question about? He was going to ask about the women in racing and part of the history because he's written about it. So, but not now. What's your commentary?
I've known a lot of them. How's that?
He knows.
No, I can do
He
that.
knows fast women.
Yeah. We've had women racers on
Yep.
the show, and it's way bigger than you thought. It's just not published enough. And I was going to mention to you, in our audience every week, we find racers that are here.
Oh, excellent.
Yep. And you can talk to these guys right there. So it's a world champion. He's sitting here. He's here about every week. That's Norm.
Hello, Norm.
Yeah. Sitting behind Norm, there's a dirt track racer. He's not a champion, but he's a good fan of racing. These are people that know racing pretty well. And some days you got 4 or 5 that they're here. Yeah. So you can be here and get culture.
Excellent.
Okay? And a good burger and a good beer.
Well, definitely.
Okay.
So part of the story that we're going to tell when we get back about the women in racing, I think you're going to be a little bit surprised, and you were whenever you were
Absolutely.
looking at it again. The next time that we get back here, you'll know more about the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Racing's original North Turn is our broadcast headquarters. If you're looking for a good drink, great entertainment, and the best in food, they're right on the beach at Racing's Original North Turn. Come on down to dinner tonight. Here are a couple of testimonials. These are actual testimonials from people who have enjoyed the North Turn. Been there many times, always great food and drinks, great location on the beach. And another, what a great experience. It's my new favorite restaurant in the Daytona Beach area, Racing's Original North Turn on South Atlantic Avenue. That's A1A in Ponce Inlet, about 3.2 miles south of the Dunlawton Bridge and A1A intersection. It's Racing's Original North Turn, a restaurant, museum, bar, gift shop, live music. That's Racing's North Turn. Racing's Original North Turn has been voted by you Best Beach Bar Top 10 year after year after year. We're back from where it all began, Racing's Original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Roland Villa, and co-host, Rich Combs.
Do you have a trivia question? Yeah. All right, I have a trivia question to win one of these volumes of these books, first print. These are first print items, and I'm going to give the first trivia question. Now, what I want you to do, if you think you know the answer, is you're going to get up and you're going to walk here, and one by one, we'll go through the people until we find the first person that gets it right. Don't be yelling it out, jumping up and down. Let's do it the right way, one at a time. Now, is that microphone live or hot? No? Okay. So you'll come up there to the microphone. Here is the question. At the recent Daytona Coke Zero race, we had a car that was there that had Ronald Reagan on the hood, okay? And it was kind of unique because in 1984, Ronald Reagan was here whenever Richard Petty won his 200th race, okay? And that was his last race that he won. And Ronald Reagan came in, gave the gentlemen start your engines right over the PA system from the Air Force One. What's it called? It's Air Force One. That's what it is. And he was also here when the race ended. And he called part of the race from the booth. So that was 1984, Richard Petty winning his 200th race. Here is the question from the 1984 Firecracker 400. Who finished second? That's the question. We know that there was a race going on, and going down the backstretch, you had Richard Petty and Cale Yarborough side by side fighting for the lead. Out of turn number 3 and out of turn number 4, they're still dueling. But in his famous slingshot move, Richard Petty took the win at the start-finish line? Or did he? We know it's his 200th win, but what was going on in 1984 at the start-finish line? Cale Yarborough right there with Richard Petty. That's a huge hint. Who finished second? And before you come up here, it was not Cale Yarborough. And if I don't see any movement, then I'll tell you what the answer was, because I actually won something very unique from this thing. I'm sorry I gave you one that's so hard. The person that finished second was Harry Gant. Why? Because as they came around to the start-finish line, the flag that was thrown was not the checkered flag. It was the white flag. And back in those days, you raced around to the finish. So Richard Petty, on the white flag, raced all the way around, full speed, and took the flag. Cale Yarborough, as he came out of turn number 3 and 4 on that white flag lap, thought the race was over. And he came down pit lane. He ended up finishing 6th in that particular race. And Harry Gant knew to stay out there. So that I won a sweaty old race tire that my wife hated me for, because everybody wants to make, end tables out of them or something. And it was a unique tire. It was the right-hand front tire, autographed with the certificate. This came from a radio station of Jeff Gordon's very first inaugural win at the Brickyard 400.
Wow!
So that became a famous tire. I've been offered a lot of money from it from these trading card companies. They want to get it and grind it up and put stuff on the card and make like it's a collectible. All right, so now we got to come up with another trivia question. I'm going to let you do it. We'll do that. But before we do that, let's talk about the women in racing.
Yeah, that's good.
How many people think that women deserve to be in racing?
Oh, all of them.
There you go.
Yeah, all of 'em.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
there's-
let me tell you a quick story from our audience. Norm, our world champion that's sitting here, he's still working in racing, and he's got a protege, a 16-year-old girl who he says is one of the best he's ever seen racing, and he supports her every weekend racing. He supplies a car, does all the work on it, gives her tutelage, and she's winning like crazy. And he calls her Hurricane Hannah. So women in racing.
Yeah.
That's in our audience right there.
And what is her name? It's Hannah.
Hurricane Hannah is what he calls her.
Hurricane Hannah. And where does she race?
Basically of around Ocala in that area.
Okay.
And we've been trying to get her on the show.
Pavement or asphalt? Dirt.
Asphalt, I think, all.
And
And
dirt?
dirt. No, he says dirt.
Dirt.
So we've been trying to get her on the show, but she's 16 years old, and that's a little bit of a drive. And
She
we need her,
actually goes to school.
and we need her. We need her parents here. So Norm's working on it for us, and sooner or later we'll have both of them on the show. Women
Excellent.
in racing, and they're moving up a class to more money. Is that right, Norm? They've won enough now. He says we're going for the big stuff. Some of these races he's moving to are $50,000 events. So
And nowadays you have to start
Yeah.
young, and you got to get the people behind you to really do that. So she's going to be moving up maybe to late models or street stocks,
staying in
hobby stocks.
staying in the carts.
Okay.
These are the big carts.
Okay. Oh, carts.
Yeah.
Thought you meant car. Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
So
That's a good way to be. Let's talk about some of the women in racing. It goes way back. It's nothing new. I mean, we all went through the Danica Patrick times that were there, but it started well before that. Sarah Christian, Ethel Mobley, and Louise Smith. And we've had Louise Smith here for different times and meetings that we've had. Janet Guthrie, she was well known, the first woman really in NASCAR. Patty Moise, who mainly raced in what was called the Busch Series then, now the Xfinity. It's the same for Jennifer Jo Cobb, Shauna Robinson, Joanna Long. Interesting stories in here. Aaron Crocker, Tina Gordon, and Danica Patrick. And nowadays, you've got sidebar, I got to talk about this. There is a young lady, her name is Haley Deegan. She is the daughter of the famous Brian Deegan, who is a motocross champion 7 times. He's just an unbelievable sportsman on a motorcycle. And she raced in the ARCA series. She raced in late model series, the K&N series. She raced in the trucks for 3 years and just with so-so teams. And then she got together with the number 15 team this year, who has done absolutely nothing since she left the team. Everybody says she got fired. No, she left the team with her sponsorship, and she left it on purpose, and that car has done nothing since. The other day in the race, about halfway through, it blew up again. And the best it's done is Joey Logano, a 2-time NASCAR champ, got in it, only finished in 8th place in Chicago. So Josh Berry's been driving it, but hasn't been able to do anything. So sometimes it's not the loose nut behind the steering wheel. Sometimes it has to do with the overall quality of the car, which is an important thing. Time for another pause. This is how we pay for the show. Pay attention to these sponsors and make sure you pay attention to them because they'll pay attention to us. We're going to be back right after this. Stay tuned. Danny Joe, take it away.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Daytona Flea and Farmers Market is still the one for great savings and the best variety. Whether you need flowers and trees for your home or you're looking for great prices on Daytona Beach souvenirs, the market is the place to go. The market features 1,000 booths, 2 air-conditioned malls, a restaurant, and 9 snack shacks. Hops Grill features gourmet burgers and garden blend salads. Treat yourself to a great variety of brat and hot dog creations at the Dog House, or enjoy a refreshing drink at the Seltzer Oasis. The market is open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and is 90% undercover, so you can shop rain or shine. There's never a charge for parking or admission. Enjoy our monthly classic car cruise-in on the first Saturday of every month, and garage sale weekend, the third weekend of every month. See all we have to offer at DaytonaFleaMarket.com or like us on Facebook. Discover Daytona's most unique shopping experience, the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, just a mile west of the Speedway. We're back from where it all began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Roland Villa, and co-host, Rich Combs.
Yes, and our special guest, Robert Red. So glad I finally got you. See, it's not as hard as I said, right? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, good.
Yep.
See, he's doing good. He worried about it, but we're gentle.
Yeah.
We'll do
You
it.
are.
We're going to give away a book, and I'm going to, if you would like to have one of these books, I suggest you come to the microphone now before I even ask the question, because it's a softball question. Okay.
Oh, this guy will never get it right.
It's a softball question.
Oh, he will not get it right.
You better come up to the mic. If he gets it wrong, now I will warn you that if you don't get this one right, it may be embarrassing. Okay, and with your first name and where you're from?
The first name is Mike. I'm from Daytona Beach Shores.
Aha. He's a northerner. That's part of it. You're from Palm Coast? Is that where you live? You're real northerners, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yankees? Okay. That's part of it. Okay, here is your question.
Who has won the most Daytona 500 races?
Don't know that answer.
Yes, you do.
Well, tell me it so I can
Think
get
of
it
it.
right because I want the book for
Any-
the Mopars at the beach.
See? Anybody else? You got to come to the mic, and you better do it now.
I did.
Come on. No, you're here, but you didn't have the answer. You got the answer back there? Come up here to the mic.
43 car.
You just helped him win it. Now, who drove the 43 car?
I call it a guy called Petty.
Which Petty? There's more than one.
He starts with an R.
Which one is that?
Richard.
Why are you being so hard?
I'm that way.
Yes, Richard Petty won how many Daytona 500s?
More than one.
What's 4 plus 3? 43.
Where I'm from in Southern Illinois, that's 7.
That's a public education right there. All right. Congratulations. You have won an autographed copy of the book. Go ahead and give it to him right now. Well, wait, do it afterwards. You can come on up and get it, okay? We got some cards on the thing, too.
Hey, that's the old dirt racer I was talking about a minute ago, so you can understand how he's answering the question.
And they say about asphalt is what you use to get to the dirt race, right? That's part of it.
Well,
All right.
before you do that, I'd like to get back to women in racing.
Yeah, okay.
You know, one of the things is NASCAR's sort of been slow in getting women into racing. It's been very slow. And the rest of the sports, whether it's airplane racing or drag racing, these guys the women are really ahead on that. And when you look right now at drag racing, you know, a good portion of the major winners every day are women. And they're not getting in their seats because they need diversity. They're in those seats because they're winners. And that makes a difference. And, you know, we've had people who've sponsored. NASCAR has been a diversity type operation. When you look at NHRA, women in racing, boy, they're going forward. And I'm always pleased with them. And they're champions, you know. Who's the winningest woman in all of racing? No matter what it is.
The winningest woman?
Yeah. Who's won the most?
I don't even know that one.
Pro Stock.
Oh.
One of the 4 starters?
No. Shirley McDowney?
No. Shirley didn't win that much. She was early in the game.
Too much
What's her
pink.
name?
Too much pink. Who? Who was it?
I'm trying to think of her name.
It's important before you throw out a trivia
No,
question to have the answer.
This is not a trivia question. This is sort of what's there. And, you know, with old age, you start to lose your memory. You start talking about it, and it goes away, and you say, who is that? You know, like I'll see you next week and say,
Yep.
Hi, bud.
Yep.
You know, I don't know who you are. You know, that's the way it works. It's Erica Enders.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's knocking it out. She's moving up in class. You don't move up from pro stock to fuel if you're not a winner. And so, you know, these are the things that are happening in racing. All the old girls that are out there that you've got, that's great. They brought them along. But man, in drag racing, it's something else. And so I'm happy. That's my statement for today. Okay,
I met Erica Enders at Gainesville Raceway way back, and she was just so nice and hungry. She just won her first championship, and of course won the next year also. But she was, well, if she wasn't so pretty, you would never think she's a girl. She was just so racing-minded. And I am thoroughly convinced that anyone, if they spend enough time at it and work hard enough at it, can win and race. A lot of these kids that are racing nowadays, yes, the cars are more cookie-cutter cars, but they have something that the old racers didn't have, the simulators. Have you ever been in one?
Oh, yeah.
They're not just these things at the arcades where you sit and race the Daytona 500. These are real
Oh,
racing machines that you sit in that have motion and sound and the complete feel. And these guys learn the different tracks and things going on by having time in the simulator. And that's how pilots learn, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how they learn,
absolutely.
for sure. And from the earliest days of the automobile drivers, the racing started here on the beach. I think Buzz said once upon a time, when was the first race? It's when the first automobile pulled up right next to the second automobile. What? when the second car was built. Yes, that's for sure. And, you know, but I think they raised horses. They raised other things, too. Okay, we are going to take a break here right now. We got a minute. We got a minute's a long time
1
on the
minute.
radio. That's part of it. The records that were set here on the beach were the records that stood for a long period of time and made people throughout the United States and the world begin to recognize that racing was something that was going to be, you know, fun to have. Now, once upon a time, racers were looked at as being the backwoods boys, and that was part of it. And that we've lived down where we now have culture. Some of these races and the amount of money that really is put into racing is really an amazing thing sometimes when you look at how much money goes into that and how cultured it is. You know?
Absolutely.
Having the wine with the little pinky finger up, that kind of thing. All right, we're going to take a pause. We're going to take a short break. This one is by Homewood Suites. I want to talk to you about that when we get back, especially when you're going to have breakfast. We'll talk about it when we return. Don't go anywhere.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Welcome to Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. You're right in the middle of all the action. Daytona International Speedway, the airport, One Daytona, Florida's newest entertainment and retail destination, and of course, the world's most famous beach. You'll love our newly remodeled 1 and 2 bedroom suites, along with our popular King Studios. You won't need your full kitchen, as Homewood Suites Daytona serves up complimentary breakfast and evening social. It's like home away from home. Go to HomewoodDaytona.com for Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. We're back from where it all began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Roland Villa, and co-host, Rich Combs.
Well, I promised Mr. Red that he would be sitting in a spot where just a few hundred feet out there to the east is where automobiles used to go zipping by at about 120 miles an hour on the hard-packed sands of Daytona Beach. And they did that for some time. I know that Danny Smith was here the other day doing a show with us and spoke about how important high tide was to being able to get the hard-packed sands, and you only had a short period of time. So what happened is it outgrew this particular availability on the sand and the asphalt of A1A. And so Bill France got together with many community partners and guys that probably knew a little bit about culture. And they got together. Oh, by the way, I want to thank Mr. Bailey. I want to thank him and your boss for allowing you the time to come out and to partake with us. And
Tim is a great guy.
we support them, and they have supported us with these parades over a period of time. And see, we didn't make it too political.
No. Oh, no.
We didn't make
Not
it
at
that
all.
way.
Not at all.
So, what were we going to do if this was outgrown? What in the world were we going to do? Bill France Sr. decided that he was going to build a speedway. And he made it an international speedway. And he opened up the brand new speedway in a particular year. Again, you got to get up to the microphone to win another book autographed. Come up to the microphone and tell us what year the first race was at Daytona International Speedway. Now, don't shout it out. Don't talk from the bar. If you know when it was, come on back at Mike. You can't do it again. No, can't do it. But if you know what year the Speedway opened up, now here comes a dirt track guy. Now, how would he know? Norm is coming up. What year was the Speedway opened up for racing? Norm, what do you think?
1959.
Is that right, folks? Let's hear a round of applause if you think it's right. It's absolutely right. Thank you so very much, Norm. You won an autographed book
And I
of
was
this.
there.
And you were there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you were 50 years old then, so golly, how old are you now?
Yeah. And I was original stockholder, too.
Oh.
Good deal.
Yeah, that's a good one. Did you have? Did you know the clear winner at that time? Did you think it was Lee Petty? Because there were 3 people crossed the finish line, and there was a little bit of controversy. And Bill France Sr. got all that advertising in the newspaper for 3 full days while they were trying to decide who won it.
Well, that was Lee Petty and Johnny Beauchamp.
Yep.
And Johnny Beauchamp got to kiss the beauty queen and held on to the trophy. And I was standing there, too, when that happened.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very good.
Yeah.
Were you holding the girl or the trophy? Okay. We won't talk about that.
So
All right.
So Norm, what's the fastest you've ran on Daytona? We know you were a Daytona racer.
Yeah, 112 on the go-kart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And was that a lay-down sprint?
No, this was a sit-up.
A sit-up?
Go-kart, yes.
Okay.
Modified.
I did the same thing, 112
Yeah.
down the backstretch. Now in the corners, those letters are like 6 feet high, right?
Yeah.
And it says Daytona. And as you're going past, they're like a blur, and you're thinking to yourself, "What am I doing?" You were 1 inch off the ground.
Yes.
The highest part was the top of your head and the top of your toes. No seat belt, right?
Right.
And doing 112 miles an hour with 5-inch tires, by the way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yes, and every year, what a lot of people don't know, and one of the things that Daytona Beach claims is between Christmas and New Year's, it's the world's largest participated motorsport event. There's more karters that come. There's hundreds of people that come to race. And they do that. And they used to be over in Memorial Stadium, too. They raced a little bit of dirt at the same time. Anyway, so that's what your girl is doing, Hannah, right? She's racing karts. And
Yes.
did she race Daytona yet?
No, not yet.
You got to get her out there.
Yeah.
That's for sure. All right. Thanks, Norm. Congratulations. You get your book right after the show here. We're going to take some pictures after the show, too, right up here on the stage.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Norm,
Next book. Next book for you.
Next book, I was just working with my editor yesterday on that.
How to do a podcast?
How to do a podcast, yes. We're finalizing back cover text right now. Book is called Florida Scoundrels, and we're kind of discussing a subtitle on this. We're working on it, but deals with. I think I ended up with 8 stories of some of the unsavory characters of Florida that you may or may not know about.
Like the Florida Mafia down in Okeechobee?
We did not. They are not in there.
Oh.
No. The Ashley Gang of South Florida. They are in there. Anybody know the name Giuseppe Zangara?
Oh. That's what you're for.
That's what I'm for. He is the failed assassin of Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Whoa.
Just weeks before he was inaugurated for his first term. So,
Oh, my goodness. History could have changed there.
Yeah. Lewis Powell, who was involved in the Lincoln assassination conspiracy, his skull is buried in Florida. So
Just his skull?
Yeah, just his skull.
Okay.
Yeah, his skull was removed. After the government buried him, he was moved several times, and at some point his skull was removed and ended up in the Smithsonian for quite a few years. And so it is now buried in Geneva, actually, in Geneva Cemetery over near Orlando.
Wow.
Yeah. Henry Flagler makes it into the book for a reason you might not expect.
Okay.
The story of some young women who were stealing money from what at the time was Southern Bell, and how they were doing that.
They were
And,
real operators.
they were close. That's boy, that's a good one. they were not operators actually. They
No, I'm just kidding.
They were coin counters.
Oh, okay.
And,
from the public payphones.
From the payphones back in the 50s, yeah. So,
One, two,
yeah.
one. One, two, one.
So yeah, that story's in there, which at the time was a big deal.
That's
And,
gonna be fun.
So yeah, it was interesting to write. Again, there's so many opportunities. I mean, but I made a point, and I in the introduction, I explained this. I made a point of avoiding the obvious, the Ted Bundys, the Eileen Warnos, what's the gentleman over in Sanford, George Perez.
Yeah. That sounds
they've
like it's
been
going to be a
told
fun
so
one.
many times. So thank you. Yeah.
We will look forward to
Thank
it.
you.
We're going to get you back again now that you know the
Definitely.
operation.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, folks. That's it for today. I will tell you that next week we're going to have Eddie Sperling. Eddie is a friend of the show. He's coming down from Atlanta. Good friends with the oldest living NASCAR champion, which is the number 4 car. I'm blinking out here. It's a terrible thing to get old.
Oh, you got
a
old
waste
age
is a
too.
terrible thing of mine.
Yeah.
That's it. Anyway, Eddie Sperling will be here. He's a good friend to a lot of different people, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you ever so much for being here. Get well to Buzz. Thank you to Dan and Joe, to Michael Montaigne, David Sace, and from our friends from out of town. We appreciate you all being here. We will see you next week. Take care.
The Legends of Racing radio show originates live from the very spot where beach racing began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. Join